Daniel's hands, steady, precise, moved with a grace that felt out of place here. He painted on broken cardboard balanced on a crate, the colors deep and deliberate. Around him, pedestrians passed without a glance, suits, heels, earbuds, and indifference. A child passing by tugged her mother's sleeve. "Why's that man painting the ground?" Her mother pulled her away. "Don't look, sweetheart." Daniel smiled faintly, adding a thin line of gold beneath the painted darkness, a suggestion of light struggling through stone. When he finished, he leaned back, studying it under the trembling glow of a streetlight. Rain began to fall. He didn't move. Above, the city raced toward another day. Below, a forgotten painter brushed truth onto cardboard, a truth no one was ready to see. The next morning, the city woke polished and busy, as if rain had washed away every trace of the night before. At the far end of the same bridge, Lena Marlowe adjusted her camera strap and crouched to frame a mural for her university project. 22, sharp-eyed, she loved documenting street art, the kind that said more truth than galleries ever dared. Her lens drifted across the underpass until it caught him. Daniels, sitting quietly beside his easel, brushing light into darkness. His paintings lay propped against the wall, cityscapes bending into tunnels, staircases leading nowhere, silhouettes standing in the dark. Something about them made her stop. They didn't feel like imagination, more like memory. "Did you paint all these?" she asked, lowering her camera. Daniel looked up, blinking as though pulled from a dream. "I just paint what's already there." She tilted her head. "Beneath the city?" He smiled, not with pride but sorrow. "You could say that." One piece in particular held her gaze, a staircase winding under what looked like City Hall. The perspective was so exact it felt architectural. "How did you know what's under there?" she asked softly. Daniel dipped his brush again, dragging gray into shadow. "Some places never stay buried." Lena hesitated, then bought the painting with the last cash in her pocket. As she walked away, camera swinging at her side, she glanced once more over her shoulder. But Daniel was no longer looking at her. He was painting again, eyes fixed on something far below the surface. Back in her small apartment, Lena set the painting against the wall. Even under lamplight, it seemed alive, like the tunnel in the picture breathed when the shadows moved. She zoomed in with her camera, studying the faint details Daniel had etched into the cardboard. Cracks, numbers, a blurred sign above the staircase that read Civic Access. 1951. "Civic," she whispered. "City Hall." The next day she carried the painting to her university's art department. Her professor, Dr. Ellis, examined it briefly, then smiled. "But what if he's right?" she pressed. "This stairway looks real." Dr. Ellis shrugged. "Cities are built on ghosts, Miss Marlowe. Don't go chasing them." But the thought didn't let her go. That night, surrounded by stacks of books and her glowing laptop, Lena searched the city archives. Old construction blueprints flickered across her screen, pages of forgotten foundations. Her eyes froze on one labeled City Hall Expansion 1950. At the corner of the plan, a note scrawled in pencil. "Sub-level tunnel, like unlisted, access sealed 1972. Lena dragged the painting closer and held it beside the blueprint. The staircase in Daniel's art lined up perfectly with the unlisted tunnel's entrance. Her pulse quickened. "It's the same place," she whispered. She sat back stunned. Outside, sirens echoed faintly across the city, as if the streets themselves were warning her. She turned the painting toward her again. The brush strokes looked almost wet now, the shadows deeper. Somewhere inside that painting she felt the city's heartbeat, and it was restless. Rain returned that evening, soft at first, then heavy enough to wash color from the city lights. Lena clutched her camera under her coat as she hurried back toward the underpass. Daniel sat where she had first found him, though his paintings were gone. Only one lay drying beside him, a portrait of the same staircase, this time cracked open, beams of faint light seeping through. "You knew, didn't you?" she said out of breath. "That tunnel, it's real." He didn't answer at first, just looked at the rain collecting in a tin can beside him. Finally he said quietly, "The city hides what it's ashamed of." "What does that mean?" He looked up, eyes dim but steady. "I used to live there, before they sealed it, before the concrete fell." Lena froze. "You lived underground?" Daniel nodded once. When you've got nothing left, down is the only direction left to go. Then, after a pause, leave it buried, girl. It's safer that way. But curiosity had already bitten too deep. That night, she returned alone to the old subway line near City Hall. Her flashlight flickered as she walked past yellowed posters, graffiti, and dripping pipes. Every sound, water, echo, her own breath, felt amplified, like the city was listening. Then she saw it, behind a rusted service gate, a metal door half hidden under grime. Carved into it, faint letters read, "Home." Her camera trembled in her hand as she filmed. The air smelled of dust and iron. And somewhere behind that door, a soft sound, almost like a sigh. She stepped closer, heart pounding. The city above roared on, oblivious. Below, she reached for the handle, and the truth waited in darkness. The door groaned open with a sigh of stale air. Lena stepped inside, camera light cutting through dust that swirled like old ghosts. Concrete walls stretched in both directions, lined with rusted pipes and faded emergency signs. The smell was heavy, damp earth, metal, forgotten time. She followed the tunnel deeper, heart hammering. At first silence, then faint whispers, human, uncertain. Her light caught a mural on the wall, faces painted in pale blue, eyes open, gazing upward. Below them, words scrawled in black paint. We were here. She turned a corner and froze. Dozens of makeshift shelters filled the cavern, mattresses made from old coats, candles flickering in broken jars, drawings pinned to the walls. And people, real people, huddled quietly, blinking at her light like they hadn't seen daylight in years. An elderly woman stirred from a cot. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You shouldn't be here." Lena lowered her camera. "How long have you all been down here?" The woman stared through her, eyes fogged with age. "Since they forgot us." A man nearby, wrapped in a blanket, spoke without looking up. "They built over us, said it was condemned. We stayed." Lena's gaze swept the walls again, murals everywhere, painted in the same style she'd seen on Daniel's work. One showed a man clutching a child as the tunnel ceiling cracked above them. Dust, stone, terror, frozen in color. Her breath caught. Daniel. This was him. The old woman nodded faintly. He lost his family when the ceiling fell. He went up there after that, said he'd make them remember. Lena's camera trembled in her hands. Tears blurred the viewfinder. Every corner told the same story, grief preserved in paint. She looked up at the ceiling, where cracks spread like veins. Above them, life went on, blind, glittering, loud. Below, the city's forgotten heartbeat thudded softly, steady, and real. Lena whispered to herself, he wasn't painting madness. He was painting memory. By morning, the video had already spread like wildfire. Lena hadn't planned for it. She'd uploaded it half in shock, half in anger, just needing someone to see. Now millions were watching. Beneath the city trended across every platform. Clips of the tunnel, the murals, the faces. They filled screens from coffee shops to council offices. Reporters swarmed City Hall. The mayor, flanked by security, gave a statement. This footage is fabricated. Our city's infrastructure does not contain any such tunnels. But truth was harder to bury than concrete. News anchors began comparing Lena's footage to Daniel's old paintings, photographed by street art enthusiasts over the years. Every tunnel, every corridor, every mural matched perfectly. On social media, side-by-side images flooded feeds. Daniel's paint, Lena's camera. The same cracks, the same faces. Outside City Hall, protesters gathered, holding signs painted with Daniel's imagery. Remember them. We were here. Meanwhile, in the underpass where it had all begun, Daniel sat quietly beside his crate, watching the chaos unfold on a flickering shop window TV. When a reporter tried to find him, he simply said, I didn't uncover anything, I just painted what the city refused to see. By evening, the mayor ordered an official inspection. Cameras followed workers as they reopened the sealed entrance. Lena stood nearby exhausted, watching floodlights pierce the darkness. And beneath the noise of machines and voices, she could almost hear Daniel's words echoing again. The city hides what it's ashamed of. Now, at last, shame had nowhere left to hide. The city buzzed for days. Investigations, interviews, arguments. But Daniel was nowhere. Reporters searched every underpass, every shelter, every alley where he used to paint. His few belongings, a blanket, a tin cup, a crate, were gone. Only his easel remained, standing alone beneath the bridge, a single canvas resting on it. Lena found it early one morning. The air was cold, the streets unusually quiet. The painting was fresh, still wet. It showed the same tunnels she'd filmed, but now they were bathed in light. People were climbing upward, hands reaching, faces turned toward the surface. And at the bottom corner, instead of his signature, there was only a smudge of red, a single fingerprint. She touched the canvas gently, voice trembling. "Where did you go, Daniel?" Behind her, the city sounds began to stir again. Buses, horns, chatter, life resuming as if nothing had changed. But something had. That night, the news announced that rescue teams had entered the tunnels, guided by Daniel's older paintings and Lena's footage. They found survivors, weak but alive, just where his brush had once shown them. No one ever found Daniel again. Some said he went back underground. Others said he finally walked toward the light he'd been painting all along. Lena never tried to decide which story she believed. She just knew both felt true. Weeks later, the city looked different. Construction crews worked day and night, clearing rubble, rewiring the forgotten tunnels. What was once buried now breathed again. The newly restored shelters glowed under warm electric light, clean, safe, and open to all who needed them. Children's laughter echoed through halls where silence once ruled. At the entrance, mounted on the wall, hung Daniel's final painting, the one Lena had found beneath the bridge. Underneath it, a bronze plaque read, "Paint what they refuse to see." Visitors often stopped there, not to take photos, but to stand quietly, as if listening to the walls themselves. Some swore they could still smell paint faintly in the air. Lena stood before the mural one evening, camera in hand, but didn't take a picture. Instead, she whispered, "You did it, Daniel. You made them remember." From the stairway leading up, light spilled downward, gold, soft, endless. And as she turned to leave, her reflection passed through Daniel's painted figures, their faces bright with hope. Above ground, the city skyline shimmered as always, towers catching the sunset, people hurrying through another evening. But beneath it now, there was life, seen, heard, and remembered. For the first time in years, the city's heartbeat in both worlds, above and below, light and shadow, truth and peace.